This right here is a fancy dinner, and believe it or not, there is a right and a wrong way to eat this. Look, I did not make these rules, but I had to learn them the hard way. A few years ago, I was at a fancy dinner, and on my left was a startup founder, and on my right was an executive from TikTok. And in front of me was more silverware than I had ever seen in my life. And so naturally, I was a little bit confused, but luckily you will not have to deal with this issue. First, we're gonna unravel our table napkin and place it in our lap. Simple enough, but then how do we deal with the silverware? Here is the rule of thumb. Work from the outside in. This right here is your salad fork and knife, and this right here is your dinner fork and knife. Now, do we really need a knife for a salad? No, but we'll use it anyways. Once done, our waiter will take this out of the way and then place down our main course, which is when we'll use our dinner utensils. But then what about this spoon right here? This is our soup spoon. And if you guessed there is another weird rule coming, you would be correct. The key is to scoop outwards. Now, of course, we'll need some bread to go with our soups, so we'll just grab one of these rolls and bite right in. Just kidding. We'll tear off small pieces since it's cleaner. And then once we've finally finished our meal, we'll place our utensils side by side, angled at 4 o'clock, to signal to our waiter that we're done. Now, if all of that was totally new to you, be sure to watch until the end, because I'm about to cover a few more life skills that school didn't teach you. So during that dinner, I met a bunch of interesting people, but there were many other interesting people that I also didn't get to meet. These were other founders and even creators that I looked up to and wanted to ask for some advice. But now, because a bunch of time had passed and we weren't in person together anymore, I had to rely on this thing, email. Now, this was a tricky situation because meeting someone in person creates such an easy way to build trust. But now I had to email them like the thousands of other people also in their inbox. So now the question was, how do I stand out? So this kind of email that you send when you don't know the other person, it is known as a cold email. It's cold because the relationship between you and the person is cold. You guys are complete strangers. So because of that reason, they are unlikely to respond, unless you know what to say. So when I was 22 years old, I was fresh out of college and wanted some career advice because I decided to pursue this whole YouTube thing instead of going down a traditional path. So I went online, found the email for an actual billionaire, and sent him a message. Now, was I expecting a response? Of course not. But 24 hours later, I actually got a reply from him in my inbox. Now, I won't reveal the name of this person because I don't want to be the reason their inbox gets bombarded, but let's just say you have likely seen them on TV. So let's look at the message I sent and see why it works. Hi my name is Gohar Khan, and I'm a 22-year-old first-gen student at MIT studying computer science and business. I always thought I'd leave MIT as a software engineer. Instead, I've turned into a full-time creator and founder, running an edtech startup, NextAdmit, and my YouTube channel, Gohar's Guide, all from my parents' 2-bedroom apartment. I recently shared my story with Business Insider, and I'm grateful for the path it's led me on. What's one piece of advice you'd give someone in my position? Best, Gohar. Now, is this message perfect? Of course not, and we'll go over why later. But let's cover what this email does well. First, it is super short. The biggest mistake that people make is laying out their entire life story when reaching out to someone new. But you have to realize that everyone is super busy. You need to respect the other person's time and make sure that your message gets to the point. Second, this email has a ton of social proof. If you have the credentials, awards, or accolades to give you credibility, include them. In my message, I mentioned MIT, Business Insider, and most importantly, my age. The younger you are, the more ambitious you will seem, and the more likely you are to get a response. As a 26-year-old, I'm now crossing into UNC territory, so I don't know if my age is an advantage anymore. Third, there is a pinch of humility here. I'm not just obnoxiously asking for advice, rather I share that, hey, my life is on an insane trajectory that I am super grateful for, and I'd love some guidance. That is it. Nothing over the top. And then finally, and most importantly, the question that I ask is dead simple. I don't ask for general advice, I ask for one piece of advice. And this is a subtle difference that makes it so much easier for the other person to respond. The one place where this email falls flat though is that it isn't personalized. It sounds like something I could have sent anyone. So if you decide to cold email someone, throw in a quick sentence to show that you follow the other person's work. Now, of course, you will have to send dozens of cold emails before you finally get a response, but that one response that you finally get, it can change everything. It can help you land an internship, it can help you sell something, or it can even help you get just one piece of advice. And with that, let's move on to the second skill school didn't teach you, negotiating. Now, one piece of advice that changed my life didn't actually come from a cold email, but rather my high school business teacher. I remember him standing in front of the entire class and uttering these 3 words. Everything is negotiable. Let me repeat that for you. Everything is negotiable. Now, what does that mean? It means that you are always able to ask for something better. A better price, higher pay, or even a better grade. Now, of course, don't take this too literally because some things in life are final. But if you get a low grade, you should see if there's any way to get extra points. If you land a new job, you should see if there's a way to get a higher salary. And this one might be more helpful for your parents, but if you get a crazy high bill, you should call to see if you can lower it. And this especially goes for medical bills because you usually can't. For this video, let's go ahead and use the new job as an example. Let's say you apply to Google and get a role as a software engineer. The company sends you an offer for $80,000. This is more money than you've ever seen in your life. So you jump out of your seat ready to accept the contract. But stop. Literally imagine me over your head saying the 3 words, everything is negotiable. So here's a 3-step framework we'll use to get you higher pay. First, do your research. Figure out what a typical salary for this role actually looks like, and then nail down the unique value that you bring to the company. For example, are you unusually strong in something like web development, AI, or database management? Better yet, do you have a higher offer from another company? This can be strong negotiation leverage. Next, go in with your ask. You should never sound confrontational or desperate. Instead, express gratitude and then confidently pose your question. Here's what that could look like. Thank you so much for the offer. I'm really excited about joining the team. Based on my research and the value I can bring, I was hoping we could discuss a salary of $95,000. Is there any flexibility in the offer? And then say nothing. Even if there's an uncomfortable pause, don't budge. Let them give you an answer. Chances are they might meet you in the middle, offer other benefits, or simply tell you why they can't budge. But there is never, ever any harm in asking. And this is also the exact framework that you can use for other negotiations as well. But most students struggle with writing, especially when it comes to getting started. And that's where our sponsor Grammarly comes in. Grammarly is an AI writing partner that helps students with their writing from beginning to end, so you can get good grades with confidence and integrity. First, go to app.grammarly.com and click on New Doc. In the sidebar here, you'll find a bunch of tools to help you during the writing process. But my favorite one is Brainstorm with AI Chat. This feature is a great way to overcome writer's block. All you have to do is share some details about the assignment you're working on, and you will instantly receive ideas and prompts. This tool will look for both supporting and opposing evidence, and give you ready-to-use citations for both. Remember that Grammarly is here to help you, not do your writing for you, which makes it a must-have for all students. Get Grammarly today. So all the skills we've gone over in this video are things that you should invest some time in. And another thing that you should invest some time in is investing. So what is investing? Investing is when you spend money on things that are likely to gain value over time. In other words, appreciating assets. These can include stocks and gold or even Labubus and trading cards. The idea is that you can one day hopefully sell these things and profit. Now, depreciating assets, on the other hand, are things that lose value over time. For example, a car. Let's say you buy a brand new whip. The second you drive it off that lot, it has already lost 10% of its value. Now, I already know what you're thinking. Gohar, I'm too young to invest. Or, Gohar, I don't have enough money to invest. Well, I'm about to tell you why you're wrong. Yes, you generally have to be 18 to start investing depending on where you live. But if you live in the US, you can ask your parents to set up something called a custodial brokerage account. This is an investment account that your parents manage on your behalf for your benefit. For example, the funds can go towards college, a car, or any other needs. And then when you're old enough, you gain full control of the account. Now, the reason that you should start investing while you're young is because of something called compound interest. In other words, you earn interest not only on the money that you put into the account, but also on the interest you've already earned. And so the value of your whole portfolio increases exponentially. But, and there is always a but, this depends on what you invest in. So one of the safer options is an index fund, which is a type of investment that tracks a group of companies. So instead of trying to guess which stocks will go up or go down, you're investing in hundreds of companies at once. This way, if one does poorly, it's balanced out by the others that do well. And get this, if you invest just $100 a month starting at 18 and your money grows at around 8% a year, you will have over $350,000 by the time you're 60. But now to your second question. Gohar, I don't have $100, and that's okay. Start smaller, even with $10 or $20 a month, because the goal here is just to build the habit. We're not trying to get rich overnight. We're just trying to start early and let time do. the work. And with that, thanks so much for taking the time to watch this video. If you have a minute, please leave a comment with your genuine thoughts because I love reading the feedback that you guys have. And of course, like and subscribe if you haven't already. Check out Next Admin for college essay help, and I will see you again next week.